just beautiful. And I was very moved by Liz Feld's speech and got to thinking about what she said about one sister and add that up to another sister and raising $1 million. I mean, that, I think of the word some. Sisters unite for miracles. You've really done a remarkable job. So, now, here's my speech. Did you know that on World Autism Awareness Day, we lit it up blue in more than 8,400 buildings all around the world? 8,000. They were on all 7 continents in 101 countries, including the Haley 6 Research Center in the Antarctica, the London Eye, the Leaning Tower of Pisa, blue, Niagara Falls, the George Washington Bridge, the Empire State Building, all in an effort to raise awareness and honor families with autism all over the world. Oh, Wapapaluma! Autism Science and Advocacy organization with 211 full-time employees. And with your help, we have raised more than $424 million, dollars from New York, dollars. Yay, yeah, Brooklyn chapter. Where are they? Yeah. 5 minutes, anyway. I mean, I cannot tell you how all of us at Autism Speaks is rejoicing by being philanthropic partners with you. Alpha Zeta Delta has raised over $1.5 million. Does Alpha Zeta Delta have the spirit? Let me hear you say, oh yeah. Oh yeah. You have it bad? Oh yeah. It's in your head? Oh yeah. Let it spread. Surprise! Oh yeah! It's in your voice! Oh yeah! So let's rejoice! Oh yeah! A special shout out here to Alpha Zeta Delta and Theta Delta Chi, is it Chi? At SUNY Albany? Because they won, they won the best lighted up blue photo contest. Yeah! Chapter of Alpha Zeta Delta at Florida Atlantic University. Yeah. These ladies were extended an invitation from Autism Speaks to attend the presidential debate in Boca Raton, and they made sure that the slogan, 1 in 88 can't wait. That's right. 1 in 88 children are diagnosed with autism every day. Autism is more common than pediatric cancer, AIDS, and diabetes combined. There are an estimated 67 million people around the world of all ages who have autism. Autism knows no geographic boundaries. It doesn't discriminate based on race, religion, ethnicity, or social status. And I am sure that everyone here knows someone who has been diagnosed on the autism spectrum. Is this true? Yes. Well, I am a member of a sisterhood of brave, courageous mothers. My son, Daniel, is autistic. And autism, as you must know, is an umbrella term for a spectrum disorder, ranging from low functioning to high functioning. And the children all present in different places on that spectrum. But a characteristic that seems to be missing all along the spectrum is called the social piece. You know, when a child is normally developing, there's a point at around 18 months, maybe even sooner, where they want the mommy or daddy's attention. They will do something to get the attention, make eye contact, and then point to what they want. And that's called making a social connection. Well, somehow or another, that piece is missing, and that's one of the missing of the puzzle pieces. Making that social connection. Andrew Solomon is a writer for the New York Times Magazine, and he was asked to conduct research about the world of disabilities, of which he knew nothing about. So he committed to immerse himself in the various subcultures of the disability world, which would be an incredible journey that lasted 2 years. He began with the deaf culture and moved on to study Down syndrome, dwarfism, and then autism. And in summary, what Solomon shares about his research is that he discovered that humans are judged on 2 different axes, the vertical and the horizontal. The vertical axis is one that is believed to be fate, passed down by our parents, our grandparents, and not changeable. Our race, ethnicity, religion, national origin, and the horizontal axis, though contains judgments by our peers about our differences or distinctions that are thought to be changeable, like diseases, disability, sexual orientation, and socioeconomics. According to Solomon, autism is associated with an underconnectivity between hemispheres and an overabundance of local connections. The human brain consists of gray matter, where thought is generated, and white matter, which conveys that thought from one area to another. In autism, too much white matter is produced too soon, creating terrible noise. Much like if you picked up your telephone and you heard not only the voice of the person you were calling, but 100 other voices, all on the line at the same time. And when a child is afraid that sound is going to be hurtful, they shut down. So a lot of times when people say, well, an autistic child is shut down, it's really a defense mechanism. In general, autistic children, well, their senses, all their senses are extraordinarily sensitive. You know, exotic smells, weirdly textured foods, tight clothing, a sudden change of weather can trigger a tantrum. When my son, Danny, was diagnosed as being autistic in 1995, that was the dark ages, he was extremely sensitive to sound and touch. Danny couldn't hear a blow dryer or a blender without it triggering a major tantrum. In fact, his hearing was so sensitive, he could hear airplanes overhead seconds before anybody else would, and he'd start to scream. Well, ever since I was a little girl, I wanted to be a mommy. You know, I wanted to have a big family, and after I worked for 14 years, I said, hey, honey, it's time. And we tried, you know, and at first it was a lot of fun. But then we had to start doing the fertility quest, and that's not so much fun. We tried everything, I mean everything, you know, the in vitro inseminations, sperm donor, you name it, we tried it. We even went to this Sri Lankan herbalist who gave me some kind of herb that made me so high I could care less about getting pregnant. But anyway, after 7 years we decided to adopt. And my beautiful baby boy came to me. But there was something terribly wrong. He was so extremely sensitive to touch. I mean, picture this. Perfect, beautiful, naked little baby boy around 2 or 3 months old. Your only child, you know, he smells sweet and powdery, like a jelly donut. You diaper him, you put his head through his little bunny pajama nightshirt, you play peekaboo. And now you have his bottle, and you go to your rocker like you have every night since he was born, and you put the bottle down on the end table, and gently bring him to your heart, just like every other night, and then he pushes you away and starts to scream because he's too sensitive to be held close. Can you imagine that? You never being able to cuddle with your child. Well, I didn't know what to do. It was really painful, and all I wanted as his mother is to make it go away, to make it better, to hold him, comfort him, make the tantrum stop. And we went to pediatric neurologists, behaviorists, pediatric psychopharmacologists, nutritionists, and nothing was helping, and we felt powerless. In fact, every one of the 5 essentials of well-being was affected. Our finances, our careers, social, our disconnect with our friends and community, and my physical well-being. I got very, very depressed because I felt so powerless and so sad. But I have a dear friend, Holly, who said, Didi, you gotta move. This isn't like you. I'm picking you up tomorrow morning at 6:45. We're going to boot camp. Boot camp. Sure enough, she takes me to this ex-Marine drill sergeant, Tom, with this horrible electronic music, and he starts screaming, you know, live by one rule only. If you want to look like a fox, you gotta sweat like a pig. Oh, I mean, I hated this guy. I hated everything about this guy. I mean, but the discipline of moving my body in a challenging way 3 times a week started to help me cope a little bit better, because I knew I had to change. I had to somehow become bigger, stronger, larger, to envelop Danny, subdue him, keep him safe. The old way of shrinking and hiding and disappearing was not working. One day, Holly and I arrived at the gym, and Tom had hung 6 heavy bags from the rafters. He was going to teach us how to box. He taught us that day the old 1-2. 1 to the hospital, 2 to the cemetery. The heavy bags were great. We loved them because we weren't allowed to talk in class, but he couldn't see us when we were behind the bags. So did the baby sleep last night? Anyway, one day Tom lined us up behind the bags, and he said, okay, girls, 1 at a time, for 1 minute, non-stop hitting the bag. When it was my turn, and all of a sudden, something released in me, and I had this thought, boxing. How does a boxer get back up when they've been knocked down? I thought, ooh, this will make a good play. I thought, but I better find out more about boxing, because I knew nothing about boxing. I mean, there's heavyweights, there's middleweights, lightweights, featherweight. To me, I'm not even a paperweight. I mean, I never hit anybody in my life, you know? So why boxing? Boxers are trained not to quit. If knocked down, they try to get up to continue the fight. And that's what they call heart. Well, I knew I had a big heart, but I never looked at heart in this way. So I had to improve my stamina, my strength, to get back up day after day and try to make sense of this child who is growing and getting bigger. And I have to stand up on my own 2 feet, find my balance, and not take a dive. You know, in the 1950s, a doctor named Bruno Bettelheim, a child psychologist, blamed ASD, as autism spectrum disorder, on the mothers. He called them refrigerator mothers. Have you heard this before? Yeah, he said their behavior was cold. They didn't bond with their children properly. Well, maybe, I thought, it's the other way around. Maybe the shock that a mother feels of this child's illness causes the frightened mother to shut down, like I did, not the other way around. Danny's extreme sensitivity to sound and touch would trigger violent tantrums many times during the day and at least 3 or 4 times during the night. I mean, can you imagine that? You know, never being able to hold your child or have him look directly into your eyes. Well, now I was learning the meaning of heart, which is never giving up. And the greatest boxer of all times, Muhammad Ali, said, turn your obstacles into stepping stones. So, what is the most important rule in the ring? And it's still very hard for me to perfect because I've been studying boxing now for almost 5 years, and I still don't like to hit anybody. Anyway, the most important rule is to keep eye contact with your opponent, because if you look away, boom, you do what they call a Mona Lisa. You're all over the canvas. You know? So, what's the first thing that one must try to get an autistic child to do that doesn't make eye contact? Is to look at you. Well, I had to find a way to get Danny to look at me, to see in my eyes how much I love him. And it happened quite unexpectedly. Danny was 12 years old. We were in a small town in upstate New York, and I saw a van, Oasis Animal Shelter. Now, Danny loves animals. He loves pets. We have 1 million pets. So I thought, okay, I'll ask the driver if the shelter is nearby. Yes, he said, follow me. And we followed him around these winding roads into the hills, into a parking lot. And when we got out of the car, we were greeted by lots of barks and neighs and moos. And Oasis is owned by an animal lover of a New York chef who bought all this land as a sanctuary for any and all homeless pets. Our new friend gave us a tour. There were dogs, horses, birds, goats, sheep, a barn called the cat house. And then he said, would you like to see the pigs? Oh yeah, sure, we said. We walked down to a road to a small barn. We walked over to the barn, and our guide went in and told Danny and I to wait by the window. So here we are, here's me, here's Danny. We're looking in there. The guy hits this pig. And now, I've seen pigs like Babe. This pig was humongous. It was like an SUV pig. So Danny and I looking in, and he whacks the pig on the butt, and the pig goes, leave me alone! And Danny looked at me, I looked at him, we looked back. The guy hit the pig again, leave me alone! And the two of us started laughing, and it was the first time that we had shared in our faces, not to say, we didn't feel things before in tandem, but together, this moment. It was the greatest. Well, this changed our lives forever, because Danny looked at me. So in the car home, my husband was driving, I'm in the back seat. Leave me alone! Danny got the idea, and he kept hitting me, and every time he hit me, I said, leave me alone. I'm losing my voice by the time we got back to the city. But this morphed into a game. Leave Me Alone was named Snorty the Pig, and here is where one needs to have imagination, one needs to persevere. I knew I had to get close to my son. So, Snorty, one day when we were walking to the bus stop, went over to Danny, went, and Danny looked at me, and Snorty said, hello, Danny. Danny looked at me, I said, hello, you. And Danny looked at Snorty, which was me, and he said, I love you, Snorty. So, now, this was when he was about 12. Snorty it turned into a disgusting pig, because Snorty loves to lick Danny, Snorty loves to sneeze on Danny, burp on Danny, anything that I can get my head into the nape of his neck. And Snorty now, Danny's going to be 21 this month. Snorty has a girlfriend named Dodi. She's an actress pig who's on the road doing musicals, and I don't know, Cinderpigella. So anyway, I'm very proud of my son. He's learning to read. He's at about a 4th grade level now, and he just graduated from a special needs high school called the Center for Discovery. And I have learned so much from him. I've learned the true meaning of patience. I've learned the true meaning of unconditional love. And please know that love does conquer all obstacles. Henry David Thoreau wrote, as a single footstep will not make a path on the earth, so a single thought will not make a pathway in the mind. To make a deep physical path, we walk again and again. To make a deep mental path, we must think over and over the kind of thoughts we wish to dominate our life. Thank you, sisters, for your loving thoughts and your tremendous contribution and hard work that will benefit families that have the same hopes and dreams for their children, but lack the resources to make it happen. And they desperately need your love and support. And it's been a privilege to meet you all. Your generous souls shine so brightly. And thank you again for opening your hearts to the autistic community. And just between us, even though you are wearing blue, today you all are honorary pink ladies.